Washington Post has a terrific article today about the Obama administration and who is visiting them in the White House, the executive buildings, etc. And remember, President Obama barred lobbyists from joining his administration and banned them from advisory boards throughout the executive branch. So it seems like, well, okay, he's banned the lobbyists from working there, but not from visiting. In fact, they visit very, very often. Now, in the past, President Obama had said that he was going to be the most transparent administration ever. So when people asked for the visitor logs, he said, yeah, right, you're going to have to sue me. So they did. He lost the lawsuit. So that's why we're getting a record for the first time of people who were visiting the White House. By the way, it's our house, right? For every administration, of course we should have had the log of people visiting to see who's trying to influence our politicians and, most importantly, our president, right? Well, when we do find out, well, it's an interesting list. So let me give you some examples from the Washington Post article. There's lobbyist Marshall Matz. He has visited it roughly 24 times, and he's representing, oh, look at this, Biotechnology Industry Organization, General Mills, and Beef Products Incorporated. Which I am amused by that title. All right, so, gee, I wonder if they're going to be in favor of food safety or want to be, you know, a little lax in the regulations of food safety when it comes to beef safety, or in the case of the obesity program, they want to influence and say, oh, beef's not so bad. Biotech companies have gotten tremendous favors from the Obama administration, but these are all, of course, wild coincidences. Their patents on some of the drugs got extended to 12 years, monopolies. One thing to have a patent for 5 years, extended to 12 years. That gift brought to you, I'm sure, having nothing to do with the lobbyists that were, coming in there endlessly to represent them in the White House. Tim Hannigan's another lobbyist. He's visited 30 times. He represents Comcast, Taser International, don't tase me, bro, a coalition of for-profit colleges. Remember, of course, the Obama administration famously proposed tough and fair regulations on for-profit colleges and then backpedaled after an army of Democratic lobbyists came in to talk to them. In the end, they did almost no change whatsoever for the for-profit colleges, which are still making a terrific amount of money. And the list goes on. Tony Podesta, who's one of the most connected lobbyists in Washington, has visited 27 times. He represents too many corporations to list. And then, of course, you've got regular Democratic special interest groups like the AFL-CIO, that's labor. Their head, Bill Samuel, visiting 50 times. Look, they give a ton of money to Democrats, too. I want to take money out of politics because I don't want the unions to have extraordinary influence, inordinate influence. But I also don't want corporations to have inordinate influence. When the Democrats say, yeah, we should take away corporate influence, which none of them will say anyway, but we should keep union influence, that doesn't make sense. When Republicans say, oh, we should take away union influence but keep corporate influence, that makes even less sense. No, we got to get rid of all of the influence of money in politics. Obviously, we have not. And then finally, hey, are they not merciful? They also actually talk to some lobbyists that actually care about our interests. Nancy Zirkin is the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, and Laura Murphy is represents the American Civil Liberties Union, and they were also represented. So at least some people, fighting for rights have also gone to the White House, to be fair, right? Now, overall, does this give you a sense that perhaps the White House is paying attention to the lobbyists and that we haven't really cleaned things up? Of course it does. Now, how does that affect things and how they run? Well, perfect example of it is today. Gregory Yatsko was the head of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, and he is stepping down. Why? Because the nuclear industry, well, went nuclear on him. Sorry. And they decided, well, this guy is not playing ball. He actually wants to do safety regulations. One of the things they were so mad at him for is after the Fukushima meltdown, he said, hey, wait a minute, let's review our safety regulations to make sure that everything is in line, right? They're like, how dare you? Well, Fukushima doesn't mean anything. Of course we don't have to be safe with our nuclear plants. What? So they targeted him for destruction. Now, the other 4 members of that commission are what they call industry-friendly. That's another way of saying total and utter sellouts. This is how they capture these different commissions. So it's supposed to be the government that's looking out for us, Well, anybody who's looking out for us is forced to step down, and the rest of the commission is industry friendly. So one of the guys is a Democratic commissioner, Bill Magwood. As a wild coincidence, he, of course, used to represent the same company that did nuclear plants at Fukushima. But he says, don't worry, they're perfectly safe. The ones here in America are all perfectly safe. Now that he's part of the government, his job is to make sure that we don't look into that. There was Alex Flint, who used to be a GOP Senate staffer, and he worked with Magwood to go after Yatsko and take him down. And he's now the top lobbyist for the nuclear industry. Again, another wild coincidences. So on Yatsko, they released so-called, well, it's not information because it wasn't backed up by any evidence at all. It was just a smear campaign saying that he had acted in an abusive way towards women. So when they say, oh my God, that's a serious charge, what's your evidence? None. No evidence presented whatsoever. Who cares? It's a politics of personal destruction. Destroy at all costs. In fact, a former staffer, Democratic staffer, says that exactly. He says, quote, "This is the ugly underbelly of large corporate lobbying. It really is by any means necessary." So if there's even one guy on a 5-member commission who isn't selling out to the industry, he must be eliminated, and he was. Now, they say he had another problem, which is that he was put in by Harry Reid, and Harry Reid doesn't want nuclear waste to go to Yucca Mountain in Nevada. That's true. Harry Reid doesn't want that. He did put him into place, and on that issue, Yatsko's voted with Harry Reid. I have no opinion on that issue, whether it should go in Nevada or somewhere else. I have no love for Harry Reid. If you said to me Yatsko's doing the wrong thing on that, I would definitely listen to you, okay? But that's not why they removed him. They removed him because he actually wanted to do safety regulations. But when they asked another senior Democratic aide, this is what he said off the record. Magwood and the industry hate Greg, the guy that just stepped down, because they think he was put on the commission by Reid, who's anti-Yucca, and he's going to be a Reid stooge. And you know what? They're fucking right. That's exactly why he was put on there. But that commission and that agency were complete and total captives of the nuclear industry, one and the same. See, this is what happens when lobbyists visit places like the White House and Capitol Hill over and over again. This is what happens when lobbyists say, hey, if you play ball, you get a big fat paycheck once you leave the government. And you have the revolving door where they go into the government, out of the government, into the government, out of the government, and into industry. And they keep collecting more and more money. And eventually, the only guys left are the ones that play ball. And that's exactly who's left on the nuclear industry now. You think we're safe? You think we're safe? Here, I'll give you a perfect example. Again, from today's news. TVA nuclear operations at Browns Ferry, they are so unsafe, they've got what they call a red flag, a red safety rating, meaning that if there was a nuclear meltdown, they didn't have a way to stop it. You see, that could be a bit of a problem, right? So now our guys are supposed to go in and regulate that. They're supposed to go in and do checkups and catch them to see if they aren't ready. So instead, this is how it works. Preston Stafford, who's the TVA Executive Vice President and Chief Nuclear Officer, says, quote, TVA is beginning to see the results with improvement efforts, but we're not there yet. We will not invite an inspection team until I have confidence we are ready. I can't even give you a ballpark estimate now when that will be. Well, that's awesome. So I will only allow the inspection at my plant once we're ready, but I won't allow it now because we would fail. Well, isn't it interesting that you're the one who gets to decide when you have the inspections? And you say, by the way, we're nowhere near ready. So if there's a meltdown, God help us all. Now, the TVA is one of these confusing things that's both government and then it has private guys on there as well. But this Stafford guy is part of the Nuclear Energy Institute. He's on the executive committee. These are the guys who have bought the entire Nuclear Regulatory Commission, except for Yatsko, who just resigned today. So he's making money off this. They're all profiting off this. When you go to inspect them, they go, oh, hell no, we're totally unsafe, so we can't have it. And McCree, who is the regional administrator for the National Regulatory Commission, Victor McCree, says, I wouldn't say that we're disappointed. It is what it is. Well, Victor, you're quite right. The nuclear plant is not at all safe. It's got a red flag on it. It says it has a, quote, a high safety significance. But it is what it is. We're all bought. We don't work for the American people. We work for the nuclear industry. So, it is what it is. This is one small example of how intensely corrupt Washington is.